Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! For a bit of context, I live in Germany and currently we have a public transport ticket for €9, which allows you to take every train and every bus in all of Germany for a month. This, in addition to all the constructions, makes taking trains a living nightmare. Cancellations, 30+ minutes delays, packed trains and so on. A few days ago on the way home, my first train was cancelled. So the next train I took was even more packed. I somehow managed to squeeze into the train. I was standing right at the door, shoulder to shoulder with other people. No back and forth for anyone. We were almost at my stop, the main station of a major city, where usually 80% of the people in that train get off. It would still be 5 minutes until we arrived. And in comes the entitled mother with her little son. They had seats in the middle of the wagon and needed to come off at this stop as well. For some reason, they made it their mission to squeeze through all the people and get to the doors to get off first. I was listening to music but saw the commotion from the corner of my eye. So I turned the volume down. A lot of people were sighing and mumbling complaints as they got pushed and shoved by the entitled mother and her kid. Until they reached their last hurdle. Me. I'm a very tall woman, on the more choppy side, so I can't stand my ground. The nice man next to me was also annoyed by their nonsense, so he stood his ground as well, and neither of us budging. Instead of nicely asking to get past us, the entitled mother encouraged her son to squeeze through us. He didn't get far with his shoulder, so he resorted to using his disgusting little hands. Before I could react, I felt his hands on my hip and my bottom, very uninnocently, not even remotely having a chance against me. His hand pushed up further up to my stomach. Mind you, this kid wasn't a toddler. He was old enough to know what he was doing. So after the initial shock and confusion, I slapped his hands. Not hard, just to get him off of me. And the following conversation ensues. Could you maybe not grope random strangers like that? All of us need to get off.
How dare you slap my son?
Your son was literally groping my bottom. Wouldn't you slap someone's hands if they were groping you?
He was just trying to get through. It's not his fault you stubborn cow wouldn't move aside.
All of us need to get off at this stop. There is no need for you to push through all these people. Besides, even if you would have asked me kindly, which you didn't, there is literally no space for me to move to the side. The entitled mother spotting the earpods in my ears.
We asked but you couldn't hear us because of your stupid music.
My music is turned off. I hear you perfectly fine. Then the nice man tells her, yeah, you didn't ask for us to move.
I don't care. We need to get off first.
Why?
None of your business.
Unless you have a valid reason like a medical emergency or a connecting train to catch, I don't see why I would have to move aside for you. Why would any of us have to move aside for you? The entitled kid suddenly continued to push his hands into my stomach, trying to squeeze past me. So I get a hold of his wrist and glare at him. Stop touching me! I immediately let go again, hoping he'd finally get the memo.
Stop assaulting my baby, you fat witch!
The nice man tells her, ma'am, you need to calm down. You need to wait and get off like everyone else, and get your disrespectful brat under control. People were watching the scene, clearly annoyed by the woman and the kid. I say, maybe next time you could just ask. I'm sure people will gladly try to make space for you, if physically possible. But no one wants to listen to an entitled lady who thinks she owns a place.
Just let us through, you brat.
Now the entitled mother tries to push me and the man apart so she could squeeze through. Her fingernails dig in into my shoulder, and the man slightly shoves her, and I grab her wrist, squeezing it hard. Wait your turn, I tell her. That made the lady reach her ultimate form. She starts screaming and screeching how we assaulted her, pleading with the other passengers for help. But all the other passengers were on our side. So many of them started shouting at her to shut up and just wait, that she's entitled and so on. This continued on until we finally reached the station. Pissed, the man and I didn't move. Even after the doors opened, turning sideways, we allowed the people next to us to get off. The entitled mother hammered against our shoulders with her fists. People intervened during this mess, and I declared that I will be pressing charges on her once we get to the station, so the people around me made sure she didn't run away. But she did try, and ended up lying on the floor, face down though. For context, I have had issues with my right foot since I was young. I fractured it one time and it just never correctly healed. I was never in and out of a boot. For people who don't know, it is a big chunky thing you put around your foot to heal it of a break or fracture. At the time, since I was only 10, I got one with a giraffe on it, and it was very cute. So my mom took me and my little brother, 6, to McDonald's, and while we were eating, she asked if we wanted to play at the playground there while she talked to her work friends. Me and my little brother happily agreed since we were young. Nothing can go wrong, right? We walked over to the playground and I sat down in a chair. I really wanted to play, but I couldn't because 1, I was in a boot, and 2, I was getting a little too big for it anyway. I feel my foot start to sting and pain for being in a boot for too long, and I thought that since I would be sitting down, I would be fine. I undid the velcro of the boot and carefully slid my foot out for a little bit. And that's when the entitled parent and the entitled kid walks in. They order their food and walk in the playground. After they started sitting down for a bit and eating, I noticed the entitled kid was starting to stare at my boot. I thought nothing of it, because who would? While they were eating, I heard the kid say something and get up. He slowly walked around for a bit, getting very close multiple times, and after circling me like a shark a couple of times, he runs over and snatches my boot from next to me and runs to his mom. I sat up but couldn't go after them because I was told I shouldn't walk unless I had the boot on. He proceeded to slid his foot into my boot and start messing up the velcro. He was pulling it so hard, I'm surprised it didn't break. I tell him, "Hey, can you please give me my boot back?" And the kid ignored me. The mom looked at him and she was nodding her head. I stood up and steadied myself on the tables. I hopped my way over to them and asked if the kid could give me the boot back.
Excuse me?
The mother tells me. I tell her, I asked if your son could please give me my boot back. My foot is fractured. She didn't even let me finish. She interrupted me.
My son wanted to look at your boot. You should be fine without it for a few minutes. You don't look hurt.
I stared at her in shock. Ma'am, I'm very sorry, but I needed to walk right now. She put her hand in front of my face and told me to stop whining. I started to get mad and I took the boot back from the kid, and he started to cry.
Mommy, she took the boot I wanted. Give my son the boot back now.
My mom overheard the yelling and ran over and asked if everything was okay. The kid was crying to his mom, saying he wanted the boot. I told my mom what happened, and she started to tell the entitled parent that what her son did was wrong, and she started to yell at me and my mom.
Give my son the boot back now.
My mom tells her, I'm not going to give your son my child's boot. You need to teach him that not everything is his. She came at my mother with her hand in the air to hit her, but she missed with the wrong woman. My mom whipped her hand so fast and slapped her instead. The entitled parent was absolutely stunned. She grabbed her kid and stormed out screaming insults and cursing at us. In good news, My foot has been in good condition lately and has been healing nicely. I hope I never see that lady ever again. I have to park my motorcycle on the street. I lock it with this big chain to a dedicated motorcycle street anchor. It happens to be close enough to my house that I can point a CCTV camera right at it from my Porsche. Well, I caught on CCTV a neighbor reversing into my bike, then trying to move it out of the motorcycle bay, then reversing into it again, knocking it over and panicking and backing up on it. Then he gets out of the car, puts my bike back up like nothing happens and leaves. Next morning I go out, see my bike is scratched and the mirror is broken off, see neighbor's car right next to it and check my camera. And sure enough, see him doing all this. I go to his house and say, "Hey James, I saw you hitting my bike over and I need to take your insurance details because you damaged it." And he gets super edgy and confrontational. Now I don't care too much, it isn't a nice bike, it isn't expensive, but I have to make sure it's roadworthy because I commute on it. I tell him to calm down, which really sets him off. So I say, "Okay dude, I don't want to fall out over this, but it's on camera, it's a crime, and I will tell the police." And he gets super mad and starts threatening me and saying he's going to move his car and I have no evidence and motorcycles are for losers. And I got a bit dumb. I unlocked my bike and wrapped the chain carefully around his car wheel and locked it. Then went back to his house. After phoning the police to report it, sheepishly he was all, No, okay, I will give you my insurance." Too late, you little jerk. Police already know. You haven't reported it and I didn't give them any of your contact details. So if he's too dumb, which he probably is, to call it into the police separately, he will be charged with failing to report a motor vehicle collision as well as damage and trying to hide the collision. When he calmed down, I did remove the lock and said I was silly to lock his car. We sorta shook and made up. I have not told him I have reported it to the police. I am hoping that means he will not report it and get in trouble. About 14 years ago, when Reliance Security provided security for Tesco stores, I also worked for Reliance but was based at the airport. One morning after a 12-hour night shift, I decided to go into a Tesco store I passed on the way home and get a sandwich. I had my work uniform on, but I was wearing a grey jacket on top, so people would know I am not on duty. So I go into the store, pick up a basket, and head to the sandwich counter, and I'm browsing the selection and I hear someone say, "Excuse me." And me, not expecting anyone to be talking to me, I carry on looking for my desired sandwich. Then suddenly the basket is slapped out of my hand, and there is this snarling man's face less than an inch from mine, and he says, "I'm not paying you to shop. Get to the front of the store right now." So I'm tired and very confused and can only muster the reply, "What?" He said, "I told you to get to front doors. We've been open for customers for the last 30 minutes and you've not been at your position once. And now I find you buying snacks?" That's when the penny dropped and I simply replied, "I know the store is open to customers. I'm one. I work for the same company who provides security, but I'm not your guard." With those words ringing in his ears, all the color in his face drained away when he realized what he had just done to a customer. Suddenly, he became completely apologetic and said if there was anything he could do for me, he would gladly help. I informed him I would like help carrying my basket around the store as I was tired from a long night shift, and he replied he would get someone to help me immediately. And I then told him I did not want someone else to carry my basket. I wanted him to carry it. So I originally only intended on buying a sandwich, but to teach this guy a lesson, I spent 30 minutes in the store and went in every single aisle. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.